a big day tomorrow in this war, a pause, the release of 13 hostages, we believe women and children. What is the feeling about this? You know, many people are saying from a distance that this looks like a sort of slow form of water torture for these poor families. Drip, drip, drip of people being let out. No one knows who it is until the last minute, and so on. Agony for these families.
Yes, it's an agonizing time in Israel. Everybody in Israel would like to see the people who were kidnapped on the 7th of October returned to their families, what remains of their families in many cases. And it's absolutely agonizing. Last night I was with many of the families in Tel Aviv as we were waiting to hear the news of what was meant to be an exchange, a handover of some of the kidnapped people this morning. That then didn't happen. We're now waiting for it to happen tomorrow morning. We don't know for certain it'll happen. We thought it would happen today. Now it's meant to be tomorrow. It's agonizing for the families. One mother this evening discovered that her 2 children are not on the list that has been given out to some families, telling them that their loved ones are going to be in the release tomorrow. And of course, there are many families. One I was speaking with earlier, their son was 21. He was at the rave and was abducted by Hamas, stolen with 3 of his friends. He's 21. It's only people under the age of 18 that are being focused on at the moment, but many of the families feel, you know, they want them all home. And the problem, of course, that Israel is now in is a problem that Israelis know very well, which is the completely unfair exchange of the hostages. The Israeli government is talking about releasing 3 Palestinian prisoners, that is, people who have, for instance, been sent to prison in Israel for carrying out terrorist offences, releasing 3 of these people for every 1 child that Hamas are going to release. And there's an added kick to this. Sirwan, the head of Hamas in Gaza, who was the person who planned and led the operation on the 7th of October that killed 1,400 Israelis and led to these Israelis being kidnapped, is a man who was himself released in just such a prisoner swap 10 years ago. That was when Israel released more than 1,000 people from Israeli prisons, Palestinians from Israeli prisons, and returned them for a single soldier, Gilad Shalit, who Israel, of course, wanted back. So there's a horrible kicker to all of this, a horrible kicker, that we've seen this before, these exchanges. The people being released by Israel are people who stabbed people in the streets, carried out brutal terrorist attacks. They're being returned for children.
Douglas, is there any doubt that when this hostage release few days is over, that Israel will go back to attacking Gaza to get at Hamas? There are some people who hope that perhaps if this goes successfully over the next few days, that it may lead to a more permanent ceasefire. But is there any appetite for that, do you think, in the Netanyahu government?
Well, it really is a very, very serious conundrum, this, because Hamas is carrying out what you accurately describe as water torture of the Israelis. It can drip out small numbers of the abducted Israelis, and it knows that, for them, these are golden eggs. They know how much Israel cares about every citizen who was stolen from their families. They know how much they care. They know how much they can drag out international pressure on Israel to have a ceasefire. They know that they can keep on promising releases and then let down the families again and again. The problem that Israel has is that Benjamin Netanyahu says that he wants to destroy Hamas. Most Israelis feel, I think understandably, they cannot live with Hamas. And yet, of course, as long as Hamas has some hostages, has the people who've been kidnapped, it can try to stop operations going on in the Gaza to destroy Hamas. It's an incredibly ugly equation. But it's one that Hamas has performed before, as has Islamic Jihad and other terror groups in the Gaza. They are playing a game not just regionally, but internationally. And, of course, the people who are suffering most are the families who have their loved ones in what state we don't know, A small number once again promised to be returned tomorrow. Again, what state they'll be in, we do not know. But yes, it's torture for the families.